Right now, as you're watching this video, you're moving at an incredible speed. It doesn't feel like it. Your chair isn't shaking, your coffee isn't sliding across the table, the ground beneath your feet feels perfectly still. But that's only because everything around you is moving together. At the equator, Earth spins at nearly 1,670 kilometers per hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. Every person, every building, every ocean, and even the air around you are traveling at that incredible speed without ever noticing it. Now imagine something impossible happens. For just 5 seconds, Earth suddenly stops spinning. Not gradually, not over a few hours. It stops instantly. Then, exactly 5 seconds later, it starts spinning again. At first, that doesn't sound like a huge problem. It's only 5 seconds, you might think. Surely nothing that terrible could happen? But here's the terrifying part. Earth may stop. You wouldn't. Thanks to something called inertia, the first law of motion, which says an object that's already moving wants to keep moving unless something forces it to stop. You've already experienced this in everyday life. When a car suddenly brakes, your body lurches forward. When an airplane lands, everyone leans toward the seat in front of them. Now imagine replacing that car with an entire planet. The ground beneath your feet comes to an instant stop, but your body is still traveling east at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour. And no, you wouldn't simply stand there for 5 seconds. In fact, standing still would be the one thing nobody on Earth could do. Imagine you're sitting comfortably on your couch, watching TV. One moment, everything feels normal. The next, your couch disappears beneath you as the floor stops moving. Your body keeps going. Before your brain even realizes something is wrong, you're thrown forward at a speed faster than a passenger jet. There are no warning alarms, no countdown, no time to react. Everything happens almost instantly. Cars become missiles. Streetlights tear from the ground. Trees snap like matchsticks. Glass explodes in every direction. Entire buildings begin collapsing before people even understand what's happening. And somehow, that's still not the worst part, because the atmosphere has inertia too. The air surrounding Earth has been spinning with the planet for billions of years. When Earth suddenly stops, the atmosphere doesn't. It continues racing around the globe at nearly the same speed. What we call wind would no longer feel like wind. It would become a wall of air moving faster than the speed of sound. Entire skyscrapers could be stripped apart. Bridges would twist and collapse. Forests would vanish within seconds. Even mountainsides could experience enormous landslides as the air rips across the landscape. Trying to breathe would become almost impossible, not because there isn't enough oxygen, but because the air itself has become a weapon. Dust, steel, glass, concrete, pieces of buildings. Everything caught in those supersonic winds would become deadly debris. And if you somehow managed to survive all of that, the oceans would be next. Most people imagine giant waves during earthquakes. Those would look tiny by comparison. The oceans are moving with Earth too. When the planet suddenly stops, billions upon billions of tons of seawater continue rushing eastward. The result wouldn't simply be tsunamis. It would be walls of water hundreds of meters high crashing across entire continents. Coastal cities would disappear almost instantly. Ships would be thrown inland. Entire islands could be swallowed beneath the sea. Places that have never experienced a tsunami in recorded history wouldn't be spared, because this isn't a local disaster. It's a planetary one. But the destruction doesn't stop there. Earth's rotation quietly controls something most of us have never even heard of. And here comes the Coriolis effect. It's the invisible force responsible for bending global wind patterns, steering ocean currents, and even determining the direction giant hurricanes spin. The moment Earth stops, that force disappears too. weather systems across the entire planet would suddenly lose one of the fundamental forces that has guided them for billions of years. Storms could begin behaving unpredictably. Ocean currents that regulate Earth's climate would be violently disrupted. Even if humanity somehow survived those 5 terrifying seconds, the atmosphere wouldn't simply settle down afterward. The weather itself could remain unstable for weeks, maybe months, and then, just when you think it's finally over, 5 seconds pass. Earth starts spinning again. Most people assume this is the moment everything goes back to normal. It isn't. In fact, the second impact could be almost as destructive as the first. Restarting an entire planet isn't like flipping a light switch. It's more like slamming the accelerator to full speed after an emergency stop. The ground beneath your feet would suddenly surge eastward again. Anything that somehow remained standing after the first catastrophe would experience another violent jolt. Buildings that were barely holding together would finally collapse. Vehicles still sliding across the ground would be launched again. The oceans, already surging across continents, would be hit by another massive change in momentum, creating new waves that collide with the old ones. The planet wouldn't get a chance to recover because disaster would strike twice. And here's something even more surprising. Not everyone on Earth would experience the exact same level of destruction. The closer you live to the equator, the faster you're moving because of Earth's rotation. At the equator, you're traveling at nearly 1,670 kilometers per hour. But as you move toward the poles, that speed becomes smaller and smaller. Near the North and South poles, Earth's surface barely moves compared to the equator. That means people living near the equator would experience the most violent effects, while regions closer to the poles might suffer less severe, but still catastrophic damage. For once, your location on Earth could mean the difference between survival and almost certain death. Now, here's a question many people ask. If Earth stops spinning, would gravity disappear? Surprisingly, no. Gravity has almost nothing to do with Earth's rotation. Earth's enormous mass is what keeps you firmly planted on the ground. In fact, if the planet suddenly stopped spinning, you'd actually become ever so slightly heavier because the tiny outward force created by Earth's rotation would disappear. But honestly, you'd never notice. Not while the world around you is being torn apart. Then there's another consequence that's easy to overlook. Earth's rotation doesn't just give us day and night. It quietly helps shape the world we live in. Ocean currents distribute heat around the globe. Wind patterns move rain across continents. Weather systems follow paths that have remained remarkably stable for thousands of years. Interrupting that balance, even for 5 seconds, could leave Earth's climate struggling to recover long after the initial disaster ended. Some regions might experience prolonged droughts. Others could face stronger storms. The effects wouldn't end when the planet started spinning again. They could echo through Earth's systems for months, perhaps even years. Fortunately, there's some good news. This scenario is almost impossible. Earth contains an unimaginable amount of rotational energy. Stopping an entire planet instantly would require more energy than humanity could produce in millions of years. No earthquake, no asteroid, no volcano, nothing we know of could simply hit the brakes on a planet. The laws of physics protect us from something like this ever happening, and maybe that's one of the greatest gifts the universe has ever given us. Because the truth is, Earth has been spinning continuously for over 4 billion years. Every sunrise you've ever seen, every breath you've ever taken, every civilization that has ever existed has depended on that steady rotation. We almost never think about it. We wake up, go to school, drive to work, watch the sunset, and assume tomorrow will arrive exactly the same way. But beneath every ordinary day is an extraordinary fact. You're standing on a planet that's spinning faster than the speed of sound, hurtling through space, and somehow creating the perfect conditions for life. It feels completely still, only because everything moves together. Maybe that's the strangest part of all. The most important things in the universe are often the ones we never notice. Not because they're small, but because they've never given us a reason to. If Earth stopped spinning for just 5 seconds, it wouldn't simply be the worst natural disaster in history. It would be the day humanity realized how much its survival depended on something it had ignored all along. Sometimes, the line between an ordinary Tuesday and the end of the world is only 5 seconds. So the next time someone tells you the Earth is spinning beneath your feet at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour, don't be afraid that it is. Be grateful that it never stops. Subscribe for more content like this.